General Hospital spoilers for the next 2 weeks, August 11th to 22nd, tease that Harrison Chase's badge has never felt heavier than it does now. The August heat hangs thick in the Port Charles air, but the weight pressing on his chest has nothing to do with the weather. It's the warrant in his pocket, a piece of paper that could fracture trust, ruin lives, and force him to cross a line he spent years avoiding. The name on that warrant? It might as well be written in fire. Gio Palmieri. A young man whose life teeters between hope and ruin, and Chase knows full well that taking him in could tip the balance for good. Yet the order is clear, and Chase's loyalty to the law is colliding with the morality in his heart. He delays the inevitable at first, circling his patrol route longer than necessary, hoping for some loophole, some call that will redirect him. But deep down, he knows that duty has a way of finding you, no matter how fast you drive away from it. The arrest, when it happens, is quiet but tense. Joe's eyes flash with confusion, betrayal even. And as Chase guides him into the back seat of the cruiser, there's no satisfaction in the click of the handcuffs. Only a sinking ache in his gut. That ache follows him long after the paperwork is filed. He finds himself outside Willow Tate's place without quite knowing how he got there. She opens the door, her warm, steady presence a sharp contrast to the turmoil swirling in him. Chase doesn't lead with the details, he never does, but she reads the weight in his eyes instantly. The two of them settle in, coffee cups in hand, and slowly the words begin to spill. Willow listens without judgment, the way she always has. She doesn't offer him false comfort, doesn't sugarcoat the cost of doing what's right. Instead, she reminds him that strength sometimes lies in surviving the choices you wish you didn't have to make. Over time, these late-night conversations become their anchor points. Each shared story, each confession, draws them closer, until the air between them hums with an unspoken familiarity that neither dares to label, yet. Meanwhile, across town, Stella Henry has her sights set on a different kind of confrontation. She corners Kai Taylor with a directness that leaves no room for polite deflection. Stella has always believed in repairing bridges rather than burning them, but in this case, the bridge is fractured, smoldering, and dangerously close to collapsing altogether. Talk to Trina Robinson, she urges, her voice carrying the kind of weight only years of earned wisdom can give. Stella doesn't just want Kai to apologize, she wants him to confront his choices, to reckon with the ripple effects of his actions. Kai hears her, but hearing is not the same as agreeing. Still, something in Stella's conviction digs under his skin. He makes his way toward Trina, rehearsing words that never quite feel adequate. If redemption is possible, it may require more than a simple apology. And here lies the twist. Kai realizes that making amends might mean revealing the truth about Drew, a truth that could upend alliances and shatter reputations. Drew Kane has always been skilled at playing the long game, and if Kai dares to pull that thread, the entire tapestry of Drew's carefully curated image could unravel. But even as Kai weighs the risk, Drew is already moving his own pieces on the board. He approaches Michael Corinthos under the guise of cooperation, framing his words with the polish of sincerity. What Michael doesn't immediately see is the subtle manipulation beneath the surface. Drew plants doubts, redefines narratives, and offers solutions that serve him far more than they serve Michael. Elsewhere, Britt Westbourne is in no mood for subtlety. Her encounter with Jocelyn Jacks explodes into a verbal skirmish almost from the moment their eyes meet, or rather, don't meet. The only reason Joss doesn't spot Britt from a distance is because Britt is shielded by an almost comically large wide-brimmed hat. But once Joss gets close enough, the recognition hits like a spark to kindling. Voices rise, tempers flare, and the tension simmers until it boils over. In the end, it's Britt who walks away with the sting of a lesson, though whether she'll actually learn from it is another question entirely. Pascal, caught in the crossfire of his own subplot, has his hands full dealing with a string of unexpected guests. They're demanding, opinionated, and not shy about making their presence felt. For Pascal, every knock on the door feels like another small crisis to manage, another secret to keep from spilling into the open. Far from the chaos of these smaller battles, Jason Morgan is on a mission of his own. It's the kind of task that demands patience, precision, and a willingness to stay in the shadows. His path eventually leads him to the secluded Five Poppies resort, where he searches for someone who may not even realize she's on his radar. That someone is Britt. When he finally spots her, the moment feels frozen in time. Britt's eyes widen, and for a long, taut beat, neither speaks. After all, as far as she knew, Jason Morgan was gone, perhaps forever. The shock is mutual, and in that suspended moment, the weight of everything unsaid presses in from all sides. Meanwhile, the storm brewing between Sonny Corinthos and Jen Sidwell is building toward a confrontation neither can sidestep. Drew's involvement adds a volatile ingredient to the mix, one that promises the clash will be anything but straightforward. Loyalties will be tested, and the fallout could redraw the map of power in Port Charles. In the midst of this, Alexis Davis is quietly shaping a strategy that could have seismic consequences. Her legal mind, sharpened by years of navigating impossible cases, is now focused on one goal: securing custody of Scout Quartermaine. This isn't just about keeping Scout safe, it's about preventing Drew from whisking her away to Washington, D.C., where Alexis fears her influence would be cut off entirely. Her plan is bold, perhaps even risky, but Alexis has never been one to shrink from a fight when family is on the line. Drew, for his part, isn't content to sit back and let the legal tide wash over him. He seeks out Willow, perhaps underestimating just how deep her resentment toward him runs. Willow makes no attempt to hide her disdain. She has no desire to be pulled into Drew's orbit again, at least, that's what she tells herself. But Drew knows the power of promises, and he wields one now. He'll help her win back custody of her own child. The offer lands with the thud of temptation, and though Willow wants to reject it outright, the unspoken truth is that Drew may be the only one with the leverage to make it happen. Chase wakes the next morning to a restless mind. The arrest of Gio Palmieri still gnaws at him, but now there's a subtle shift. Willow's words the night before have taken root, making him question not just the moment but the chain of events it might trigger. Gio is young, and the system has a way of grinding down young men before they've had a chance to stand. Chase wonders if there's a way to help without betraying his oath, though such lines have a habit of blurring when feelings get involved. His coffee grows cold as he plays out scenarios in his head, every one of them ending with him more entangled in the very case he wishes he could escape. Willow, on the other hand, finds herself unsettled after Chase leaves. His vulnerability, the quiet weight in his voice, stays with her through the day. She's kept her heart guarded for so long, wary of losing herself in someone else's troubles. But Chase doesn't feel like trouble in the traditional sense. He feels like someone standing at the edge of a storm, fighting not to be swept in, and she can't help but want to steady him. She tells herself it's just friendship, a natural extension of their shared trust, but deep down she senses that trust is evolving into something more complicated. Elsewhere, Stella Henry is keeping her promise to herself: if Kai Taylor won't take action soon, she'll push him until he does. She knows Trina Robinson is not the type to hand out forgiveness easily. The hurt is real, the trust fractured. Kai's hesitation frustrates Stella. She sees in him a man who understands the depth of his mistakes yet fears the cost of truly making amends. When Kai finally approaches Trina, it's with a mix of apprehension and resolve. He lays out his regret, admitting that words are not enough and offering to back them with action. But action, in this case, means peeling back the layers on Drew's polished exterior, exposing truths Kai once kept to himself. The revelation, should he choose to make it, would not just shift Trina's view, it could shatter alliances and paint Drew in a far darker light. Kai feels the danger of it even as he speaks, but there's something liberating in the honesty. Whether Trina will accept it remains to be seen, but the air between them crackles with the tension of possibility. Drew, meanwhile, continues his quiet campaign to bend others to his advantage. Michael Corinthos remains his most valuable potential ally, though Michael is not easily swayed. Drew plays a long hand, weaving in moments of apparent vulnerability to earn Michael's trust. He frames his arguments around shared goals and mutual benefits, avoiding overt pressure while subtly guiding Michael toward positions that serve Drew's agenda. It's a game of patience, but Drew's confidence lies in his ability to make his moves seem inevitable. In another corner of Port Charles, Britt Westbourne is still feeling the sting of her clash with Jocelyn Jacks. She replays their encounter in her mind, though she would never admit it out loud. For someone like Britt, every confrontation is both a battle and a lesson in who wields the sharper blade. Her pride keeps her from backing down, but there's a grudging acknowledgement that Joss got under her skin in a way few can. Britt's next steps will be calculated, not reactionary. If she's going to reclaim the upper hand, she'll do it on her own terms. Pascal's situation grows more chaotic with each passing day. The guests he's dealing with have their own agendas, and none of them align neatly with his. Every conversation feels like a negotiation, every favor a potential liability. The strain shows in small ways, shorter temper, restless nights, but Pascal knows he has to maintain control. The moment he loses composure is the moment someone else seizes the narrative. Jason Morgan, still deep in his mission, finds himself watching Britt from a distance after their initial shock. Neither of them has spoken much about the years between now and their last meeting, but the silence is heavy with questions. Jason knows that revealing too much too soon could derail what he's come to do, yet seeing Britt again stirs emotions he thought he'd buried. Britt, for her part, struggles to reconcile the man before her with the ghost she thought she'd lost. The collision of past and present leaves them both on unsteady ground, but it also opens the door to alliances neither had anticipated. The battle lines between Sonny Corinthos and Jen Sidwell are sharpening. Drew's involvement is no longer just a side note, it's becoming a catalyst. Sonny senses it, the subtle shifts in loyalties and whispers of backroom deals. Jens, confident in his own position, underestimates the volatility of introducing Drew into the equation. The result is a tension that could ignite at any moment, and when it does, the fallout will not be contained to just the three of them. Alexis Davis is finalizing the bold legal strategy she's been building, each piece carefully placed to block Drew's move to take Scout Quartermaine to Washington, D.C. Her plan is aggressive, designed not just to win but to make a statement about her willingness to fight for those she loves. Alexis knows that taking this route will put her in direct opposition to Drew in a very public way, and she's prepared for the blowback. In her mind, there's no other choice, losing Scout is not an option. Drew's meeting with Willow lingers in both their minds. For Willow, the offer to help regain custody is tempting in spite of her distrust. She doesn't want to be indebted to him, yet the possibility of success tugs at her resolve. Drew can see it, the subtle hesitation that suggests her walls might not be as impenetrable as she believes. He presses gently, framing his involvement as a means to an end, insisting that this is about her future, not his. Whether Willow chooses to believe him or not, the seed has been planted, and Drew is patient enough to let it grow. As the days pass, each of these threads tightens. Chase wrestles with his conscience and the growing connection to Willow. Stella waits for the ripple effect of her push on Kai to reach Trina. Drew maneuvers in multiple arenas, confident in his ability to outplay anyone who stands in his way. Britt recalculates her position while Pascal navigates a minefield of obligations. Jason moves forward on a mission that now has personal stakes, and Sonny prepares for a conflict that could reshape his world. Alexis readies for a courtroom battle that will test every skill she has, while Willow stands at a crossroads between pride and necessity. The stage is set, the players are in motion, and every move from here will shape the battles to come. The August nights grow heavier, the air in Port Charles thick with anticipation as the threads that have been pulled tight for days finally start to fray. Harrison Chase can no longer separate the badge from the man. His decision to arrest Gio Palmieri sits like a stone in his chest, but it's no longer just about guilt, it's about the consequences that are beginning to ripple outward. Information reaches him through quiet channels. Joe's case may not be as straightforward as the arrest report suggests. There are whispers of someone pulling strings, ensuring that Joe's situation escalates in ways designed to trap him. Chase suspects the fingerprints of a larger player, someone who benefits from chaos. Willow becomes an unintentional confidant to the deeper layers of the story. When Chase shares his suspicions, she pushes him to consider whether following orders is the same as doing what's right. She knows the danger in challenging the system, but she also sees the man in front of her torn apart by a choice that might destroy a young life. The closeness between them, built on nights of quiet honesty, is no longer something either of them can ignore. A single lingering look lingers too long, and though neither speaks the truth out loud, it hangs between them like the humid summer air, dense, undeniable, and charged. In another part of the city, Stella Henry's gamble with Kai Taylor begins to pay off in ways even she didn't anticipate. Kai's decision to be honest with Trina Robinson cuts deep, revealing truths about Drew that cannot be unspoken. Trina listens in silence at first, her face unreadable, but as Kai lays out each detail, her trust in Drew fractures. It's not just the actions Kai describes, it's the calculated nature of them. For Trina, the realization is a shock to the system, not because she thought Drew incapable, but because she had once believed his intentions to be good. Drew senses the shift in the air before anyone tells him. His interactions with Michael Corinthos take on a sharper edge, as though Drew is aware that time is running out on his quiet manipulations. Michael grows more guarded, no longer as easily led down Drew's chosen path. Drew responds by doubling down, leaning into half-truths and selective transparency, dangling just enough of a shared interest to keep Michael from cutting ties completely. At the Five Poppies Resort, Jason Morgan's mission has morphed from solitary precision to something tangled with emotion. His reunion with Britt Westbourne has altered his focus in ways he doesn't entirely trust. Britt is cautious, uncertain whether Jason's presence is a gift, a warning, or both. They talk in fragments, each holding back more than they give, yet both knowing that the next steps they take could alter more than just their personal histories. The mission looms, but now it's layered with a question neither of them is ready to ask: what happens after? Meanwhile, Pascal's situation grows untenable. The demanding guests he has been placating begin to intersect with the larger conflicts in Port Charles. What he thought were isolated inconveniences reveal themselves to be connected to the power play swirling around Sonny Corinthos, Jen Sidwell, and Drew. Pascal finds himself holding information that could shift the balance for any of them, and the question of loyalty becomes less about friendship and more about survival. The tension between Sonny and Jens finally boils over. Their confrontation is not the loud, public clash many expected but a quiet, lethal exchange behind closed doors. Each man comes armed with leverage, and Drew's name is woven into every threat and promise. When they part ways, it's with the understanding that neither has won outright, but both have marked the other for future reckoning. The only certainty is that the next time they meet, it will not end without casualties, emotional or otherwise. Alexis Davis stands in a courtroom, her bold legal strategy finally in motion. She delivers her arguments with the calm force of someone who knows the stakes and refuses to blink. Drew sits at the opposing table, his expression unreadable but his focus sharp. The case is more than just a fight for Scout, it's a public measure of who holds the moral and tactical high ground. Every objection, every sustained ruling, shifts momentum back and forth until it feels like the entire room is holding its breath. Willow sits in the gallery, her presence a silent declaration. She doesn't speak, but her eyes track every move Drew makes, weighing whether the man who once hurt her could actually be the one to help her. The conflict plays out in her mind with every passing hour, and by the time court adjourns for the day, she knows she will have to make a choice soon: ally herself with someone she doesn't trust or risk losing something she cannot replace. As the threads draw tighter, Port Charles feels like a city on the edge of a storm. Chase is prepared to challenge his own department if it means uncovering who's truly behind Joe's predicament. Kai braces for Drew's retaliation now that the truth has reached Trina. Britt and Jason face a crossroads where personal connection and professional mission collide. Pascal weighs the cost of using his information as a bargaining chip. Sonny and Jens retreat to plan their next moves, each convinced they will outlast the other. Alexis readies herself for the final, decisive day in court. And Willow, standing in the center of so many intersecting conflicts, realizes that whichever way she turns, there will be no going back. The ending hovers just out of reach, the kind of conclusion that promises both resolution and ruin. Some alliances will be solidified in the heat of battle, others will crumble under the weight of truth. And when the dust finally settles, Port Charles will not look the same as it did before. The players may remain, but the game will have changed forever.